allow us to have a discussion on this and maybe get this wrapped up.
Yeah, propose it. The only thing I'm thinking is well, we need to plan it either way.
Yeah, well, I'll make the proposal. I didn't want you to be blindsided. You can certainly think. It's 750,000 people in the biggest state that 6-7 states can fit in. It's amazing. Okay, this one is mine. This is last time. Yeah, I was having some issues with the food there. They were from sections between the pockets.
I was trying to make sure that we had this consistent. And then I ended up with more questions than that.
So I wasn't the only one. Okay.
Well, this is what it came from.
Okay.
Most often, site is 1 acre.
Okay.
So.
I found it at the last meeting. So, I didn't get a chance to between going through this and then yes, I have. Because, you know, you can help address conspiracy.
Russ, we get a start?
We're running a little shy for quorum.
We don't need to do that.
I thought we did,
Russ, we can start with 3, right?
It's a workshop.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
It's not.
I stand corrected, thank you.
Decisions made, you don't necessarily need a quorum.
Yep. Thank you, Ross.
We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as printed.
I would like like to make a proposal to modify the agenda. Since we were the furthest along on the MMMA regulations, will we discuss that first, get that put to bed for discussions, and then move on to the data center?
Excuse me, could you speak into the mic? We can't hear you back here.
Yep, that's fine.
Whisper.
I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you.
How's that? Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sally, you want to revise your motion?
Yes. Move to approve the agenda with the flipping the MMA ahead of data centers and discussion.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear me either, okay. I got it.
Told you not this one.
I know.
How's that? Try it again?
Move to approve the agenda, flipping the MMA regulations ahead of data centers.
Support. We have approval of the agenda as modified, moving MMA to old business, item 1, and data centers to old business, item 2. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. Welcome, Zach.
Thanks, John.
We just moved,
Do you want to redo the motion now that we have?
yeah,
Okay, I'll restate my motion. Motion on the agenda is to move the MMMA regulations listed as item 2 to number 1, making data centers number 2, based on the completeness we've achieved on the MMMA regulations. Put that to bed maybe a little earlier.
makes sense.
Okay.
Support.
Motion and support to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Before we go to the call of the public, Sally mentioned you wanted to say something?
Yes. I wanted to go on record as saying I have not signed an NDA, nor do I plan to. I can't imagine that there's any circumstance that would change my mind on that subject.
All right, thank you. Move to call to the public. The first call to the public is for agenda items only in 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate the work that has gone into this draft, and I want to speak to what has changed. First, this draft adds a hard 100 megawatt cap. The earlier draft allowed 60 to 100 megawatts or more, so establishing a firm ceiling is a real improvement. Second, this draft now requires data centers to comply with Section 21.16. That section includes a nuisance standard and a rule that noise cannot exceed background levels by more than 6 decibels. In a rural township where nighttime ambient noise is around 25 to 30 dBA, that effectively lowers the allowable nighttime noise into the low 30s, far below the 45 dBA limit in the zoning text. I asked the Commission to confirm whether this is intentional and whether it reflects your long-term policy for the Pyro District. Now I want to zoom out and talk about the broader implications for Tyrone Township. Even with a 100 megawatt cap, that number is still extremely high for a township without municipal water or sewer and without the road network or emergency services that large data centers need. A 100 megawatt facility is a regional scale power consumer. It requires massive electrical infrastructure, high capacity transmission lines, and substation upgrades that extend far beyond the parcel line. Those upgrades do not just serve the data center, they permanently change the character of the surrounding area and invite additional industrialization. The ordinance also allows co-location in hyperscale facilities in the Pyro B district. Pyro B is our light industrial district. It was never envisioned as a home for 100 megawatt power users with 24-hour cooling systems, backup generators, and other requirements that hyperscale facilities bring. The master plan describes Tyrone Township as a rural community with limited industrial capacity and a desire to preserve open space, natural features, and low-intensity land uses. A 100 megawatt data center is not a light industrial use, it is a heavy industrial use with a digital label. The stormwater infiltration requirement prohibits engineered solutions, which is appropriate for protecting groundwater, but it also means that large roof and paved areas may not be feasible on many pyro parcels. Much of the district contains hydric soils, wetlands, and limited infiltration capacity, and all runoff must infiltrate on site. That is a real constraint on the scale of development the district can support. A 100 megawatt data center also requires more land than most realize. When you include the required greenbelt, setback, stormwater infiltration, and the distance needed to reduce noise at the property line, a facility of that scale typically requires 100 acres or more. The Pyro District was never designed for parcels of that size or for the regional scale utilities, or for regional scale utility users. Its zoning structure, dimensional standards, and the master plan all show that Pyro is intended for light industrial and office uses, not 100 megawatt hyperscale facilities. Finally, the draft ordinance requires a vibration model, but it does not set any true limits. The only standard is whether vibration is discernible without the aid of instruments beyond the property line, which is not a scientific threshold. Low-frequency vibration from cooling equipment and generators is often not perceptible to humans, but is still measurable, transmissible through soil, and relevant to wetlands, wildlife, and structures above and below ground. If the township intends to regulate vibration, this language must be extended to include measurable engineering standards. While I appreciate the improvements in this draft, I encourage the commission to pause and ask whether a 100 megawatt ceiling is still far too high for a rural township, whether Pyro B is the right place for hyperscale, and whether the ordinance as written truly protects the rural character our master plan commits us to preserving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I've never done this before. I've been here for 13 years in this community. I love this area. The quiet, it's so nice to sit out there on the back porch, you know, and not hear any excess of noise. But I've been working quite a bit for down there at that data center in Saline. And I don't know if you guys know it or not, but they did along there, they dug in wells like every 20 feet. They went way down. They have to pump so much water out of the ground to put the buildings in. What's going to happen to our wells? They're already, you know, I know it's at least 100 feet down is what they did, and they just dumped the water on the surface. They're pumping concrete into the ground to stabilize everything. So I just really want you guys to really look into what you're going to be doing to this community. If you allow that to come in, it's going to destroy everything around here. The amount of trucks that are going to be coming in, they had down there, I know that one down there is a lot bigger, but they had 200 trucks, 200 gravel trains, not per day, 200, with bringing in 7 to 8 loads a day. So, you know, the numbers of trucks, what's that's going to do? That's going to shut down pretty much 23. It's going to shut down all the other businesses around here. I mean, you know, the gas station, all that stuff, but it's just going to create havoc. It's going to destroy the roads. Yeah, I mean, it's a mess down there. You got farmland everywhere, and then all of a sudden you got all these massive buildings just going in. Yes, like the governor said, it brings in work for a short amount of time, but what's it really going to bring to here? You're going to have, what, half a dozen people that actually are going to work for the data center? Because it's all computerized. They don't need that many people there. They just need people to check up on the property, check up on that stuff. So it's not really going to help us in that way. And then from what I heard down there at that one, what are they going to do here as far as electrical bills? Our electric bills are already going up. I see they just did some work down there, the gas. Is that for the data center too? I mean, is this already going to happen, or, you know, is this a waste of our time to come in here and try to talk to you guys and you know, give our opinions of what we think of, you know, what's going to happen? You know, it's stuff to think about, you know, because like I said, we got a lot of wildlife, we got all that stuff. It's just going to destroy all that stuff. But I just really implore you guys to really, really check your hearts, and think about the community and what this is going to be. It would have been a lot better to have an asphalt plant there than, you know, than a data center. The asphalt plant only works so much a year, you know. But thank you.
Thank you.
It's quiet, but yes.
Oh.
They've actually both done quite good. They were right at 3 minutes.
Anyone else?
Forgive me as I'll be reading off of two different devices. My first question is if you folks have been working with any other communities that are also redoing their ordinances around this, as I feel as though that's an important part of this process in redoing ordinances is working with other communities that are also encountering these issues. Something to think about. Another question, clarity on this ordinance and where the Pyro District is exactly going, and will these properties owned by Aller, be included in the Pyro District? Additionally, I currently have in front of me the Washington Township High Energy Intensive Development or HIDE Ordinance Amendment. This is an amendment that was presented by the folks in Washington Township that were fighting the Palantir proposal. They gave these to their Planning Commission Board to look over. It was denied by their Planning Commission Board. It was accepted in part in Lenox Township, who were also fighting a developer. Part of this goes into the different size classes for data centers. Unlike others who have spoken, I do take a little bit of issue with the taking out or more in your hyperscale definition. If you take out the or more and put a cap on it, you invite hyperscalers that are like Saline and are like Van Buren and go up to a gigawatt of energy that can pull. Hyperscalers do not stop at 100 megawatts. If you put in your ordinance that it can be 100 megawatts and further, that protects you guys and gives you a further classification range. And I can send this ordinance to you, I can send this draft to you of suggestions if that would be acceptable. Thank you.
I believe we already have that one. That's the one that you shared.
Yeah, unless there are any updates, and we're always interested in seeing those too. So,
Thank you. Anyone else?
Township President, with all the negativity that's going on with the data centers, why are we even bringing it up? Did someone twist you guys' arms? Did the state?
The board,
Say-
the board asked us to look into this ordinance.
Which board?
Tyrone Township Board,
Really?
yes.
I don't see a good side to this at all. Nowhere do I see a good side to this. The noise, the worst thing of the whole thing, I think, my opinion, is the water table. We've got quite the wetlands here. Springs that just pop up out of nowhere. Jewel Lake, perfect example, feeds Runyon Lake. No other supply to that lake, Jewel. It does it on its own, from way down deep. they start drawing water, is Jewel gonna dry up? Is Runyon gonna dry up? It's too many negatives. The noise. It shouldn't even be an issue. It shouldn't even be brought up. Just drop it, put it off for another year. Let's see what happens with the rest of the state and how everybody is just negative on the whole issue. Nothing is gonna be a plus to a data center except money in somebody's pockets. And it's not gonna be ours, that's for damn sure, because the utilities are just gonna go through the roof. We know this. All I got to say for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
Chris Rapetta, resident, Tyrone Township. Just want to, with regard to the data center care ordinance, and I'm not here to sway your vote or anything, or simply here to provide information from my expertise. But one of the things that, from a data center perspective, that hasn't been considered in the drafts up to this point are prohibition of data centers completely. There's no state mandated law today that mandates that we have a data center ordinance other than a prohibition of data centers. Unlike PA 233, which mandated solar, wind, and battery ordinances. And just also to add additional information, the township has already set a precedence for prohibiting, especially battery and wind, are completely prohibited in this township for installations that are below the PA 233 minimum. So this planning commission previously recommended prohibitions to battery and wind below, I think, wind, I won't specify the actual numbers, but considering a prohibition to data centers is not unreasonable for a resident like myself to think that this board would also consider with that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I want to read part of an article that I read that's interesting, and it's titled, "Why Communities Are Pushing Back Against Data Centers." And it was actually an interview with Ben Green. He's a tech and policy expert at the University of Michigan and an assistant professor of U of M School of Information and Public Policy. And it was dated April 9th, 2026. Professor Green reports that the public is quite negative over data centers, and their concerns are very legitimate. The public is concerned about rising electricity rates, the enormous water use, and public handouts in the form of tax breaks. Also, they don't bring meaningful economic development, especially in the form of jobs that the developers claim. It's been impressive just how well communities have organized around this and how many projects have been stopped. It's sort of a David and Goliath fight. Local communities are fighting back against some of the wealthiest companies in the world. With the number of data centers, estimates indicate that electricity needed will be 10 to 15% of the national demand. Data center developers claim they bring jobs to local communities. In practice, this does not happen. In reality, you will have construction workers that last a year or two. Once it's up and running, it requires very few people, often 20 to 50 people. There is no office for software developers, project product managers or marketing experts. It is a warehouse full of servers. Transparency needs to be a bare minimum requirement. Contracts are secretive, and when made public, there are large redactions, and NDAs are being signed. Finally, we need to think of how much water and electricity one state can handle with data centers. And my personal feeling, my big concern is the health issues of people and pets. Currently, there's a lot of new information about all of the medical issues it's causing with people. And there's a lot online that you can find.
Thank you. Anyone else? Jeanette?
Hey, I will be speaking on the NDA's next comment. Yes, the board did ask you to do this, but Mario even said in a couple of meetings, he told you guys that we can make this pretty ironclad, that they're not going to want to come here, and you guys all ignored him when he said that. So I can pull that up. It was in a couple of meetings, Mario. And so we'll pull that up and put it out there for everybody to listen to. Tonight, you're continuing your discussion on data center ordinance, and I want to remind this commission why residents are paying such close attention. When this discussion first started, residents were told there was no data center application, and we were told not to jump to conclusions. But residents are now watching an industrial rezoning request move forward, and immediately after this commission recommended approval last week, even before the township board had even made a final decision, a commercial real estate sign got changed out, industrial built-to-suit opportunities. It displays a partnership with JLL. It's a national company that provides solutions for what? Data centers. Okay, so we're watching the pieces move. We are not imagining these concerns. This ordinance matters because once this door is opened, the details written into the ordinance you're working on may be the only protections that residents have. But tonight, I'd like to offer something that could be part of the solution. You have residents in this township with amazing knowledge about what's going on. And one was Mr. Michael Yules, who has spoken at multiple meetings. He spoke tonight, and we heard him tell how he submitted documentation regarding data centers for this commission's review. But as residents, we have no way of knowing what happens after information is submitted. Mr. Amberg, you even said tonight that you've seen something, but we don't know did you look into those different points that were made? What was done with it? So we want to know, was it reviewed? Was it considered? Was any of it incorporated into the ordinance that we're going to see tonight? Has any discussion happened tonight? Your own planning commission bylaws, and here's where the solution is, provides a process for this. Section 4.02 allows the planning commission to form subcommittees for reviewing and generating recommendation on items of interest to the planning commission. These subcommittees may also include members of the public. I'm asking you tonight to use that process. Please place the creation of a data center subcommittee on your next agenda for discussion and consideration. Allow residents with relevant knowledge and experience to serve on that committee, help consolidate information, organize questions, and provide recommendations back to this commission. This is an opportunity to work together, and I'll just tell you right now, just so you know, I do not want to be on that committee, okay? So you don't have to worry about me applying for it. We're asking for a transparent process that ensures Tyrone Township gets this right. You guys have all said, we don't know anything about this. Even Mario said, I'm learning. We've got experts in this community and we need to involve them. So your responsibility is to this township, the master plan, and the residents who will live with the results of these decisions long after they're made. Can I get a commitment from you, Chairman Ward, to put this item on the agenda for discussion at the next meeting?
Thanks for your comment.
Would you mind putting that on the agenda?
What's that? Having the subcommittee? We have subcommittees.
Okay, that's not what I asked. It needs to have residents on it.
The planning commission is all residents.
It needs to have residents that are not on the board, residents from the general public.
Only one of us is on the board.
Sorry, not the board, on the planning commission. You know exactly what I'm asking you for. I'm asking you to involve residents who have expertise, knowledge in this area, to form a committee that would represent the questions, et cetera, the information that we're trying to get to you, that would consolidate it, let me give you an example. Howell did this and is doing this. They have a committee of residents, and they have one planning commission person sitting on it that helps them consolidate everything. And they make sure that the concerns from the residents actually get discussed and looked at and considered for the ordinance.
All right, thank you.
Would you put that on the
We'll
agenda?
consider it.
So that's a no.
We'll consider it.
What's to consider?
Our next agenda's going to have data centers as an agenda item, so.
Yes, I'm asking,
Data centers is on.
I'm asking for the creation of a committee that would allow your everyday residents, people like Michael Yules, who has experience in this area, to be able to sit on a committee to help with this ordinance.
We can discuss it as a planning commission.
So you'll put it on the agenda?
Well, we can discuss it tonight. Data centers is on the agenda.
Okay.
Anyone else? Scott?
Scott Dietrich, White Lake Road. It's a lot better meeting tonight than we had last week at the board meeting when the threats and of recalls and everything else. It's terrible because we have a moratorium and we're working on this to threaten people. I mean, I don't even understand it, but I do like to have some experts, but I've heard from one person that I was really hoping that would give us some input. And I got some information on LinkedIn that I don't think he's up on data centers. I think he thinks he is because he's in the field. But I've seen some comments that he made online that were very negative and wrong because we have been having workshops. I've been to 2 master plans since, being a resident here all my life. And last one was like 2012. So talking about the 23 corridor, we've changed it so many times. We've taken it down, we've thinned it out, did everything we could to make the community safe. And I know one person just said something about, why did we even have to bring this up? Well, anything new that comes in, we have to bring up. I'm sure you're going to explain that. We have to have zoning to protect the community. We have to have ordinances to protect the community. Okay? Washington and Lansing makes laws. We can only regulate to a certain amount. And we already found out that Lansing wanted to take that right away from us. Remember that? Remember we fought that? How all the counties went and had a lawsuit against the state because they wanted to take our right away on the solar. So yeah, you guys, don't sit there and say we can't bring this stuff up. We want to regulate it as much as we can, legally. Our backs are against the wall. And we can't fight each other. And you guys all signed the moratorium. I see one township, 3 members didn't sign the moratorium, they're getting recalled. And the people have a right to do that because they felt that the people wanted more time to look at this. Okay, so I understand why they're doing it. But everybody here signed the moratorium. Okay, and I just have one final statement on the NDAs. You can sign an NDA all day long, but I've already had one trustee that has lied, broke the law, and has gone into meetings without recusing himself. So that NDA that he signed doesn't mean crap unless you sign it and then lie your way out of it. But an NDA is just nothing if you're not going to live with it.
Thank you, Scott. No applause. Anyone else? Hearing none, we will close the call to the public and move into old business. Item 1, Michigan medical marijuana regulations. Mario, thanks for the memo and revised draft ordinance. I had maybe just I guess anything that you wanted to highlight in here, or?
No, not really, just to let everybody be aware of the point. At your last meeting, you had some revisions in front of you, and you provided us with some comments. And so before you is one amendment, one revision that you drafted from the zoning ordinance to adjust the setback boundary. So hopefully that is more in line with what you're thinking, because I'll be honest, when I was attempting to figure out, all right, how would this work, I was applying the 500-foot setback boundary from all the parcel lines, rather than just those parcel lines from residential boundaries. So therefore, there can be sites that will be 500 feet away, where all the facilities of a medical marijuana grow operation will be 500 feet away from any planned, zoned, or used residential property, and then they can be put in, so they can basically put in a corner that's next to other industrial. So to me, that makes a lot more sense, and I hope that is conveyed correctly, and I hope that's what you intended, because I think that would work. And then we did revise the licensing ordinance as directed by the attorney to make sure that it redacts any personal information that isn't necessary to identify who that caregiver is when they, and to confirm they are registered with the state. So those are the two revisions.
Thank you. I think the one comment I have on the setbacks is, you know, we specifically were told that the residential setback was at high risk for exclusionary zoning because we were having the setback from the caregiver parcel line to a residential zoned parcel line, which, you know, we don't have a big industrial park where we have like a lot of buffer parcels. So pretty much all industrial parcels are adjacent to a residential use. So that kind of did make it exclusionary. You came up with some options how we could either change the zoning for it where they're allowed, or different options, maybe if someone bought these parcels or something. But I think we agreed on then setting the setback from the caregiver operation, and it'll hold the intent of the ordinance. But I think that was also applied to the schools, and I don't think we had that risk of exclusionary zoning because it's not like we have schools on every corner where we could, you know, where there wouldn't be something available. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Zach?
Yeah, I had the exact same.
I mean, the original language was a lot tougher and almost not possible with the residential. With schools, it's entirely possible. I know you guys thought on that.
And I'll
Jeanette, you're going to have to be quiet. We're having the meeting here. It's not your time to talk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No, I admit that I went through the entire text of the amendment to try and to make everything consistent. I wasn't sure about with the schools, but I added it there. But if you feel like that's, like you just mentioned, it's not applicable that much, we can totally just go back to the original and because that makes sense, because you're absolutely right. There aren't as frequent situation in which the schools would be there. So.
Yeah. Everyone in favor of that?
Yeah.
Right, for the schools, yeah.
Yeah, roll the schools back to what you had prior. Keep it, the residential setback as it is.
What section again was that?
Zoning ordinance, page 3, 4.
Yeah, E4.
Well, E4, yes, yeah, E4 is the school.
Yep. School. So that'll all go back. So all that highlighted text will go away, and everything from the previous.
I think that one at the top you changed, including building and lot facilities, right?
Yeah.
That's still
Oh,
applicable, right? But yeah, that lower text.
Okay.
So back to the red then,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Right.
Everyone good with that?
Yep, and I'll make sure I include the colors.
All right.
In the description.
Then we keep the change in E3, right, the highlighted change.
Yeah.
You're right, okay, I'm just making sure, yep.
Oh, yeah, that got changed to E, okay. Regarding the zoning ordinance, any other questions or comments? So, sounds like we're pretty final on that one. With that change. Moving on to the regulatory ordinance, I think, and I'm gonna ask Zach to help out, but I think you did add the redaction, but originally we talked about a list, and then, forgot your fellow's name that was here last time, but when we talked with him, and you put more generic language in there about, any sensitive or personal information that is not needed to confirm that the applicant is the individual registered with the state of Michigan shall be redacted. What do you think, Zach? Do you think that's sufficient, or do you think we want to, which information? Who's going to determine that? And
Well, my concern with the more generic language would be, it kind of puts it in the hands of, whoever is submitting it to make the redactions, and it was a privacy-related concern. I think the attorney's intent was to, have it be the minimum information, like the very minimum information
it
required
was pretty,
in order to verify that they're licensed. And I'm trying to remember, I think it was name and license number, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's,
I was trying to think of, all right, what do we need? And I was thinking, I wasn't sure if it listed specifically or not, because I wasn't sure if we would necessarily need their address. But I guess if they are assigned a license number, that makes perfect sense. As long as the name and license number is valid, then that's all.
well, and there's a couple other things on this card about possession, or authority to possess plants, or something like that. And then also, if they're a caregiver or a patient, and it should say, like, C for caregiver. So, I believe that's other things that we discussed.
So we want to add C for caregiver.
I think we could call it caregiver designation.
Yeah, okay,
I think that's what we call it.
yeah.
Did we decide on a full name, or
I don't know if we specified one way or the other.
it'd probably be nice. I mean, if we're asking the
Yeah.
name, there's no point to having
Yeah.
to say John or something, So, name, caregiver,
Designation
designation,
and license number.
license number.
License number.
And I think that might have to do with caregiver designation. I think it's like a C number or a P, I don't know. I think Zach's looking up an
Yeah.
example.
So what I've seen.
Yeah, that's C. The C is for caregiver.
It looks
Oh,
like it's in the bottom right corner. It's
Yeah.
either P or C, I guess.
All right,
Then there's that authorized to possess plants, yes or no.
yeah, and then authorization to possess plants. Everything else, shall be redacted.
Okay,
And we weren't gonna, as it's a workshop, we weren't gonna vote on this today anyway, so
Right.
that's a pretty simple change. Can you have that by the next regular meeting?
absolutely.
In advance for the agenda, work through us?
Yep.
All right, any other discussion on medical marijuana?
Before we leave,
Yep, we're good.
I just want to make sure we've got
Well, this is
everything.
the time to discuss it.
Remember, I got nominated on my books, not my secretary's. Okay, so for section E4, page 3, the highlighted school comments go away. We go back to red in that area. We keep the changes in E3 on page, page 4. Section A7, section 8, part A7. We've got a caregiver designation, full name, license number, and everything else shall be redacted. We're all on the same page?
Sorry, one more time.
Yes, say it again.
Full name, caregiver designation, and license.
License number,
And then,
yes.
and authorization to possess land.
And authorization, okay. This is where we double check.
And everything else shall be redacted.
Yes.
Okay.
Mike's gonna be helping, take some notes, so we make sure that we get you the correct information after each, discussion item, so.
That's great.
And you should be able to have it in time for our next meeting,
Absolutely, yeah.
next regular meeting. And does somebody have the date by chance?
6:24.
For the next meeting?
Oh, for the next meeting, yeah, I don't, I think if you say next regular meeting, we'll be fine.
Sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
So that means it'll be in your packet for the July 14th.
Yes.
Yeah, so you gotta coordinate with Ross to get it, in the packet.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on medical marijuana? We're moving on to old business, item 2, data centers. Mario, thanks for the memo that you provided to assist in the review of the zoning ordinance amendments. Anything you wanna just summarize this and then we can start the discussion?
Yes, so the memo and revised text you have in front of you includes revisions based on your discussion from the last planning commission meeting. So that includes your issue, there was an issue that you wanted to make sure that there was text that explained the PS and NP abbreviations in the table of section 16A.02. And it turns out, already in the zoning ordinance, there's text that explains it. So the revision in front of you just includes that existing text. So that's why the revisions there, on the top of, beginning of page 2, that's just a normal text, because A through E is already in our zoning ordinance. So it solved the problem that I created.
So did you add that text under AE?
Yeah,
Or sorry, under E?
Yeah, that's why it's in standard text, because that's existing. Because what happens is when we do any kind of amendments,
You didn't put the whole ordinance in there?
no.
Gotcha,
And that's the thing,
understood.
sometimes some communities want to see the entire ordinance,
Yep.
but then that just gets very verbose.
So you just added the text that was already existing, good.
Correct, so
One-
the stuff for context.
Yeah,
So that
okay.
answers, so that to answer your request, to make sure that people can understand what these abbreviations mean in this table.
All right.
So that's fixed?
One comment on that,
Yep.
under the first use, which was most existing, we have that under Pyro C is SLU, is that you supposed to
Oh,
be?
yeah, that should be.
That should just be
changed
S.
To S, yeah, that's correct. Not sure how that happened, but yeah, that's definitely just the S, because that would be consistent with the distinction in the table. Okay?
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
on that table? There are asterisks behind Pyro A, B, and C. Typically, when I say asterisks, I look for a footnote. Some cases, it's 162 games for a home run record. Others are references and all that. What do they mean?
So let me check the existing zoning ordinance, because hopefully there is that there as well.
I mean, I think it's gonna have to do with the same thing as the
I
other.
understand.
But I would agree, I'd like to see it in this version too.
Okay, yeah, so it already
But
does it.
I can't pull the ordinance up right now, my internet's running slow, but
I have it.
you got it.
Yep.
Okay, what are they,
So already in the zoning ordinance are the text, and it is say footnotes at the bottom of the table. So the first asterisk means outdoor storage and display of goods and materials is prohibited. So that means in Pyro A, research and office, no outdoor storage at all.
Okay,
The two asterisks, it says two asterisks, outdoor storage and display of goods and materials requires special approval. So that means in the light industry, it's an option to have outdoor storage, but you have to go through a special land use process. And then the third one, before the general industrial, Pyro C, it says, the asterisk states, outdoor storage and display of goods and materials is permitted. So it makes sense with the gradual transition from research and office to light industrial to general industrial.
okay,
Research and office, no storage. Light industrial, maybe. General industrial, they're allowed to have outdoor storage.
okay. And I'll just reflect that those will be,
Right.
those definitions will be added.
Yeah, that
Without getting into the
can be added to
details.
the draft text.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the next issue that you, was a result of your last discussion was the definitely idea about having a maximum amount of watt, a maximum megawatts for a facility. And just for some context, you know, our firm is writing ordinances for multiple communities throughout the state. And some of them, you know, everyone's coming up with different ideas and different things. So one of the things that I thought about, because in terms of, you know, as residents and as you guys have already mentioned in your months of discussion with us, you know, why are we here? Why do we have to do this? The board wants to ask us for this. And the idea is to have something on the books so that when someone walks in, if someone were ever to walk in, that we would have something to defend ourselves with, something that we could walk through. Because a lot of Tyrone Township, I don't know specifically what their situation was, but in my professional opinion, they did not handle it well. And their master plan and their zoning ordinance weren't prepared to handle it. And so that's where they ended up where they did. Even though you see the commercials on TV, you know, they make it sound like they're getting all of these things. Everything that was given to them was out of the back of generosity for the applicant, because it was a consent judgment and they dictated all the terms. And the judge foisted it upon them. So the idea is to have an ordinance, to have some type of defense for integrating into the township. Now obviously, and forgive me, I keep doing this thing with my hand, but like we have planned and zoned the community for a certain rate of growth to eventually have certain rates of growth. And in other communities, we were thinking, all right, sometimes while we have data centers as an issue, before it was battery storage, before it was solar, before it was wind, but also, if you think about it, it's as if a car company came in and wanted to suddenly build a factory. Now they have different job levels, of course, but suddenly you still, to me as a planner, it's the same effect of we're growing at this rate, and suddenly they want to change and make us go this. They want to change the rate that we're going. They want us to grow faster. So the idea behind going back around, and the idea behind this is the idea like, all right, and once again, everybody's coming with these new ideas, and so there's, right now, as far as I know, I haven't yet encountered any other community that's tried this in front of an applicant. They might have it on the books, but I don't know if an applicant has reacted to this. But the idea that like, we can only accept a certain size at this point in time, in theory. Yes, all of these proposed data centers are operating at 250 or 500 or whatever the heck the megawatt is. It's bigger. So the idea being, in this first draft, consider megawatts at a cap. So forgive me, but I wanted to give you some context for the idea behind that standard. So the idea being, all right, we'll deal with 100 megawatt max, and then beyond that, you just are not fit for, the township is determined you're not fit to come to the community. And the idea being, we're not prohibiting them per se, we're allowing data centers, but we're just not allowing them that large. It's a standard zoning practice to have setbacks at a certain distance away, but there's also a standard zoning practice to have a maximum setback. In some communities that are urban, they want to have their buildings a build to them. And so like somebody might want to put the building 50 feet away from the street, but on that particular lot, we're saying, no, you have to build the building 10 feet away to meet with everything else in the downtown of the village. So that's the long diatribe discussion, the definition of how we got to this point. So within the zoning ordinance draft in front of you, the definitions are max 100 megawatts, and then there's the section 22.05W buried in 3C 11, or not, 11.1, the maximum power permitted being 100. So, forgive me, I wanted to give that,
Yeah,
that explanation.
Thank you. I think that was a good, I guess, a long summary of what you changed and why. I want to go back to that topic, and maybe even the other topic. So just finish going through this report, but we'll go back to the megawatt limitations.
One other request you had was to make sure that the standards within the data centers reflected existing noise standards. So section 2205 W2C now, and as the other reference in terms of the standards, reflect the current noise standards from section 21.16. So those are the specific changes that have been made. The memo and the discussion points you had last time were just to confirm and kind of finalize the draft version of the definitions, and you were okay with those. The idea of the max power, you indicated in your summary of the notes that you were like that idea for this first draft to try out 100 megawatts, and then confirmed that you want all of these to go through the special land use process for all these type of data centers. So the idea behind that memo was just to try and walk us through discussion. So we've gotten to this point of definitions, districts, review process. So now we're at the specific criteria of 22.05W, the co-location hyperscale data center requirements. So if you have any additional comments or direction as to the changes you want to see happen to this draft that's in front of you, I can make notes and make the changes that you want.
Thank you. All right, going back to the maximum power levels. That was, what we talked about last time, the 100. I guess I would thinking maybe we rethink that.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever we come up with, we discuss it with the attorney when we get our draft farther enough along where we want to ask our special counsel to do a preliminary review.
Right.
But, maybe the 100 is probably too much.
Well, so that we've got a lot of new people here. I mean, so that they understand the concern, right? If we exclude too much and make it impossible, I mean, we're subject to challenge for exclusionary zoning. So it's a balancing act, and it's certainly something that we'll be discussing with special counsel. One thing that we talked about at the last meeting, if there is a limitation, and I think it was your idea, Mario, if there is a limitation on the max in there, I like the idea of having the reason for that limitation, right there in the ordinance. The community simply can't support a facility of that size.
Special counsel before, Mallory said, you don't necessarily have to have it in there, it'll be in your,
Right.
But I think it helps to put it right in there.
I think so too.
I will say that that's a good idea because people tend to not pay attention to the purpose section, but when it comes to legal defense, the attorneys like to utilize the purpose section. So yeah, that's definitely something that.
Well, and one of the things that I found doing some research on this is And Ross, we really appreciate this. There are a lot of different organizations out there with definitions of enterprise edge, multi-tenant, and hyperscale data centers. And that always concerns me, because if we are going to write something that's consistent with the industry, if we choose one and that's not the correct organization, it opens the opportunity to poke holes into our ordinance. I have found the Independence Alliance for the Electrical Industry and Electrical Safety, they define it. The Department of Energy defines things as well, and it depends on what website you click on. So that's, I think, one of the reasons, if I can circle back to Zach's comments, about putting the limitations and why. Because last thing we want to do is find out, we define hyperscale as this, as an example for power, and that's really not an industry norm. Therefore, you see what I'm saying?
And just to speak to that issue you brought up, you're absolutely right, it happens. I will say that the one time that you usually get standardized definitions across a community or the communities, unfortunately, well, it is what it is when there's a state law. When there's a state law, for example, with medical marijuana and adult use marijuana, now all the communities' definitions are the same because they reflect the state law.
Right.
And they don't, but I will say that generally speaking, definitions in a zoning ordinance are for the local community and for their interpretation as to how you basically divvy up different uses, how you differentiate between different uses. So I like the idea that you just mentioned, so rather than using the jargon or terminology that the industry uses, what if we just came up with our own for the different types? And then have it unique, because then that will say, all right, you can walk in and you applicant, and this is what you're proposing, all right, you give us your characteristics, all right, you qualify in this community as a large-scale data center. You know, you come in here, or you qualify as an off-site data center, you know, whatever term you come up with, but keep them differentiated, because in the end, the zoning ordinance is intended to differentiate between size and scale and impacts on adjacent property. So yeah, I like that idea.
Okay. So we will add, Zach, if you could read back your brilliant idea to me.
But that's just kind of the general language when we set a limit.
Okay, we're not there yet.
We're not.
I was getting all excited for nothing.
I think the language is good. I think we rethink the limit. And you know, Chris made a point that, you know, we did ban certain things. No, we did not. We had regulations on them that had banned certain sizes. That's just regulations. But I do think we could do that here, and maybe it's you know, these different categories. I mean, they're kind of based on size and maybe the use, but you know, maybe the hyperscale we say not allowed, and I don't know what that the risk that brings, as the attorneys usually tell us. There's always risk, but I think if we start there and kind of almost like we did with medical marijuana, you know, draft ordinance very tough, send it to legal counsel to review. They tell us where we got weak points. It went to the county for review, and they tried to point out some other potential weak areas, but we really started really tough, and some areas we were noted where it's too tough, it's risky. So that's just my thought. I mean,
Yeah, I'd rather go in a little heavy.
Right.
yeah. I think,
On my idea, whatever that threshold is, you know, however we describe it, we just want narrative that says why that doesn't work in Tyrone Township. I mean, that was the ad. So.
I think and we got to be careful with that, because if we say we don't want it because of this reason, and then an applicant comes to solve that reason, then it's like, well, here, now you can take it, and if you don't, we'll go to the judge. But I think we have some valid, and that's the reality. We want to only accept what the township can accept, and I think some important issues would be, could be water, because that would, but, next thing you know, they're gonna try to solve that issue, which would cause more problems.
And remember, the issue we're facing is that all these people have billions of dollars to just solve all these issues, unfortunately.
Fire protection. So I think, in specific items that make us unique to other communities, because, some of the concerns could be a concern anyway, but these concerns are specific to Tyrone Township. I think we gotta rethink the purpose, at least have a real good language, because if they solve that purpose, then what happens?
I mean, I don't know that it necessarily, what you're basically doing is you're setting forth your reason why it doesn't fit in the community. If they fix that, I don't think it changes the ordinance in the sense that it would be allowed. But, to your point, does it open it up to more challenge? Maybe. And that's certainly something we would want to talk to special counsel about, so.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it needs to be super specific either. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, but, it could be, really, really general. It just doesn't fit with our community, the rural character. I mean, that's something that I don't see how, and they do have billions of dollars to work with, but I don't know how you would fix that. So.
Yeah.
There are verbiage that we can use that would be general, but identify criteria that, from what I recall, stood up in court in terms of, are open to interpretation by the community. So the community can determine it's not in keeping with our character, it's not in keeping with our scale, it's not in keeping with our goal of preserving natural features. We do that.
So, is that what do you guys think about just saying, here's a hyperscale data center, we have the definition, and say, at that time, say, these are not allowed in Tyrone Township, or whatever language you come up with. And then maybe even going back to the next level down.
The edge and
Yeah.
edge and,
Can I
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
jump in here? So, I keep trying to equate megawatts with acreage. And I think I've kind of zoned in on between 1 and 3 acres per megawatt.
I think that's, you're never gonna get a exact equivalence, but I think they, from what I've seen, you could build 100 megawatt on 100 acres. Maybe, I mean, I'm not certain, but I don't think it's automatically gonna be a 300 acre site.
No, but between 1 and 3 acres
Yeah,
per
okay, yep.
megawatt.
Are you
I'm
saying that
just
because
wondering-
they can be built up?
No, I just, probably the efficiency of the equipment, or, I don't, it's just not an exact,
No.
equation to say this many megawatts is this size. For one, it's gonna have a lot to do with what setbacks we set.
Right.
It's gonna have a lot to do with what noise ordinance we set, as someone mentioned, this, size of the building really is gonna dictate the stormwater drainage, but.
But I was just thinking that helps us with limits.
Yeah. But are you saying that we put something in there about acreage?
Not now, but if we could nail it down a little closer, maybe.
I think we definitely think about that, but I don't know, it's kind of what we originally talked about. Are we regulating the size of the parcel, size of the building, or the megawatts? And we kind of have been going towards the megawatts.
Okay.
And that could be
and you guys just said it.
Reduced.
The challenge is because they're not forthright with all the information, it's kind of hard to determine what, like, if they could just tell us, right, how big a building you need, how big of the improvements you need, right, how much megawatts is that, and we could figure that out, that would be nice. But because of all these things are kept close to the vest by these companies, they can't do it, in addition to how they design it and the efficiency, or not only efficiency, but the demand of a certain processor. If they choose processors that are at, like, this super high end, maybe they need even more electricity. Because if they design it as, I'm no tech expert, but if they design it as more of a standard computer system, kind of like how like the battery in a Tesla is, in the end, a bunch of old, small, not tiny, AA batteries that are just, you know, put against in series or in parallel, whichever. They might have standard servers with more off-the-rack type of processors, or maybe they might have supercomputer processors. I don't know that. So how they design the computing systems could impact the amount of energy they do or don't need, even if we gave them a certain acreage. So we might say, so in addition to all the other items you mentioned. But to me, that speaks to an issue of, as more information comes out, the ordinances could be updated to reflect that. Because, Sally, I've heard that number you mentioned, and I do think that's kind of what a lot of people are going with right now. But once again, it's because based on what things they can glean out of newspaper articles or glean out of redacted agreements in other communities and in other states. So it's tough, but that's why, that's why the ordinance is where it is at the moment.
I guess I'm just thinking if, like, a reason to say we can't do hyperscale is there's just not the acreage.
Well, no, that's gonna be, I don't think that's good, because they're gonna pull out the map and say, there's acreage. Look at Tyrone Township, that's all, we got a lot of acreage. I think it could be something like, due to the rural nature of Tyrone Township and the limited availability of infrastructure and other services, hyperscale data centers are not allowed. I mean, we're gonna run this by special counsel, that was just just a general term. I still wanna discuss with special counsel if we specify a reason, but that would be like a kind of a general reason.
Right.
And so then, under hyperscale, we still have the definition, I think. We had got it in there and just say it's not allowed. And then the multi-tenant co-location, we're saying typically 10 to 100, or 10 to 60, but then further down in the power requirements, we categorize those two together. And then it says 10 to 100. But I think we bring that back, of course, bring that back down to the 60, but even evaluate that for, is the 60, you know?
Right.
I mean, like I said, start tough and really get a buy-in or more thoughts from the special counsel on that one.
Yep.
Maybe, I don't know, 50 or something, or?
And it's hard too, because I know that reducing the power usage of these facilities is one of the things that they're spending tons of money on, right? But I don't know that, you know, somebody raised it earlier, maybe we just have to keep our eyes on this ordinance and update it as things change.
Well, in some areas, they define them by usage. Edge or micro. Low latency, high bandwidth. Typically running 50 kilowatts to 2 megawatts. So it's got both definitions in there, so that if they continue to drop down on the usage, the application is still defining it as an edge. You know, that's why I'm looking forward, Ross, to reading your handout.
If we were to say no hyperscale data center, should we go back to or more, 60 or more? Because then there's no upper limit.
Yeah, do that. Good point, Sally. That's just explaining what a hyperscale data center is.
Right.
In that same, I think right there, I don't know, where's the best place in the ordinance to say that's not required? Is it in the definition? Or maybe it's in the definition and it's in,
it's probably both.
I mean, I think the definition's probably
I
fine.
put it in both.
Okay.
And then what I went to, you're absolutely right, define it, all right, this is what we're talking about. In Tyrone Township, this is what we're talking about. We'll call co-location up to 60, and then we'll have all the standards. We won't get rid of the standards, all the standards in here will be kept for co-location, and that's a max of 60. I'm just throwing the numbers out at the moment. And then after that, we'll say hyperdata scale, hyperdata centers. These are the standards that are applicable to hyperdata centers. Hyperdata centers are prohibited. That's it.
Yep.
Due to,
Yeah,
Due to
put that-
releasing it for the purpose of the.
you got a good, kind of a rough first draft of that language, Mike? Due to Tyrone Township's rural character and the limited availability of infrastructure and services,
Oh, yeah, public services.
public services, yeah.
to limited infrastructure.
You don't have to say what type, it's giving us some
I think it's better
general
to be
reason.
broad.
Yeah.
Because that's fire,
And-
that's utility, I mean, it's everything.
Do we want
What
to
was the,
say-
hold on, what was the second part?
Sorry.
Limited
I'm
availability,
trying to process in series, people are running in parallel meetings.
that's why I got you on it, that's why I got you on this, so I didn't,
Infrastructure and
Public
public
services.
public services.
Do we want to add in protection of natural features or past efforts for protections of natural features? Because we have
Yeah.
wetland boundaries, we have everything in the ordinance already, tree surveys, we make everybody else do this, there was a reason we did it.
yeah, that is a reason why we want to do it, but we just got to be careful putting that in, then, you know, what happens about that parcel out there that has absolutely no wetlands in it, you know? It just,
Have bald eagles in the trees.
well, okay.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
They can find stuff.
No, I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Because now are we just limiting it to this? And are we gonna go down the whole list and say every single reason why we're doing it?
Yes.
I think we just,
Whichever you prefer.
I got one quick question real
yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
So I'm a developer and hyperscale's out of the question. But we have these co-locations that are up to X. So I've got Boku Bucks and I just picked 4 properties down US 23 and now I got 4 co-locations. Is that the route that we're trying to push them to? If that's what they're looking for? See what I'm getting at? So then there's,
Whether it's one person doing all 4 or 4 people walk in, the idea being the first thing they have to do is rezone the property. And the first thing they have to rezone the property to high road, they have to be in compliance with the master plan. And the master plan only has a handful of properties at this time. And so typical approach from a zoning standpoint is, right, we're not responsible for the vagaries of the real estate market. If you can't buy that property, or if you can't buy other property, or you can't get in compliance with the zoning ordinance, that's not our fault. So the master plan will dictate how many come in. Now, I don't know if it's going to be 4 or not. I mean, we do have 2 main areas.
I'm just saying in general, if the big scale's out of the question and they're really set on having them here for whatever reason, is that the better route that we're allowing
What do you?
multiple of the smaller ones?
What's your suggestion?
I'm just putting it
I mean,
out there.
that could apply to anything. That's like saying we already got 2 trailer parks, we don't want any more, we're not gonna zone for it. Well, what if someone comes in and wants to buy up half the township and put all the trailer parks? I mean, that's, any land use could have that issue.
Right.
That's why it's important to follow our master plan, to develop the master plan and have that reflect what we want for the future of the township, and then to follow the master plan on the rezoning. So far, everything we've talked about is having these in zoning districts, and this Pyro we're talking, rather than overlay map. Overlay map, we could say this one parcel, we could do it like our solar and say, here's this one parcel, it's the only place in the township where they can put it.
I was just more going back to Sally's like square footage, thinking about that. If you have properties that can't accommodate for these hyperscales, and then they put, 50,000 square foot buildings, and then they make them, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a risk to that.
Is that like an avenue that
is kind of open then, if we just,
There
is there a
that.
double-edged sword that there's no way to, you just gotta kind of hope for the best?
But our best protection is going back to the future land use map and then in the zoning districts.
But I just what you're saying here, that that's the choice before you. If you go this route, this might be one way, or if you go that route, it might be the other way.
Yeah,
You
because
go
the
with
other
one big
two
one or four
options,
small
these
ones.
enterprise data center and the edge or micro data center, I don't know for certain, but I'm willing to bet those are pretty popular everywhere. Like big businesses probably have that around here. I mean, they have IT guys, I bet you they got servers galore in their buildings. I would imagine. I mean, I'm not an expert in it, but there's some pretty big, businesses around the Fenton area that probably have that capability. So,
Well, I think it's a good point, and if you want to be belt and suspenders, again, I mean, we gotta run stuff like this by special counsel, because this one might be even more subject to challenge, right? But something that says, it's just as sort of over the top of all this, Tyrone Township, maybe you specify the reasons, maybe you don't, isn't a site that can support more than X number of megawatts or,
because that can be monitored, right?
however you want to define
Well,
it, right?
we would still be monitoring and reviewing this as part of special land use and site plan review and zoning.
All right, as long as that's a
So,
criteria we
I mean-
could consider, the
Yeah.
other uses that are consuming. Yeah. Well, I think it's a good
I
point.
was just,
I mean, there could be other ways, we put in, I think in maybe medical marijuana, that you can't be this close to another one. We could put something in there saying, data center, can't be within this many feet of another data center. That's what we're doing here, is we're working on this draft ordinance, so we can create that language. But I don't think by eliminating a hyperscale, we're making ourselves worse off by saying, well, someone's just gonna come in and put two of these other ones. Still a risk, but I think if that's the concern, there's other ways to solve it. All right, so I think we're probably good on that, definitions and the max capacities for, on this section. That 60 megawatts we're gonna go back to, I don't think we have an answer today. Unless you guys want a certain number to plug in for now.
So keep the 60.
Yeah, that's just, that one, maybe highlight it as something that we're gonna go back and look at.
Should I make these changes that we just?
Yeah, you're making these changes.
Is the scale prohibited?
Yes,
Up
make,
to 60?
yes,
Okay.
I believe so. Is anyone not in favor of making those changes? Yeah, go ahead.
So this would go into D, correct? Hyperscale data center.
Yeah, that's the definition under D, but then also on,
Should be a new section, W4.
W4?
you can't do any of that.
the,
Section 22.05 W4 will be brand new, and it'll be just hyperscales.
Okay.
And then 3 will change to co-location.
Even at all.
Co-location with a max of 30. Or 60, excuse me. 60.
Yep.
We have edge data centers with not, I think I'd like to see them move down to 3, along with co-location.
okay, let me,
Yeah, on page 2,
I mean, I'm,
page 3.
just by looking at the definitions that we have,
Yeah.
edge or micro is 100 to 150 kilowatts, and multi-tenant or co-locations are 10 to 60 megawatts. I think, they seem separate.
Okay.
That's my thought, I don't,
That was the idea. Because the kilowatt, basically, you're looking at basically like a, it's not
Okay. I just
All
thought
right,
I'd throw it out there.
Okay, so we're good on those definitions for now, for today.
For right now, page 3, enterprise and edge data centers, facilities shall conform with all noise requirements in section 21.16. I don't know if I was missing a section in my packet.
Well, no, because we're drafting this one.
Okay,
We're not revising that one at this time, but we're referring to it.
okay,
So it's not, it wasn't included in your packet, it's in your, Sally, it's in your red binder. It's in your ordinance. This is the current adopted ordinance. I do have it up here and we can look through it. I definitely want you to look through it in very close detail, Mike, at some other time, but right now, it's our, this is our ordinance on noise. So it's my thought that if we want to change some of these values, based on something that's not really specific to a data center, just kind of a general noise or something, that we go back and change this. I mean,
That way it's consistent.
to be
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be appropriate if we feel like this at that time isn't going to provide enough protections, we can change that as well. And then the benefit is that we're saying that we're not treating data centers different than anybody else. All users in the township have to comply with this, with these noise standards. Protect noise and vibration and that sort of thing.
yeah, I'd like to take a look at that. The concern, which we mentioned a little earlier, is the frequency.
Well, real quick, here's the table. So pyro, and I think, this is what Michael, is this what you were bringing up? The 70, was that intent? You asked a question about, was that the intent of referring to 21.16?
22.16?
20, I believe it's 21.16?
Well, I took it out of the draft ordinance, so if I'm mistaken, it was the noise, you're talking about the noise, right?
Yeah.
And the nighttime, when I brought about the nighttime.
Yeah. So that's, may even, I don't know, we might want to look at that.
Yeah, there may be something unique that data centers present that some of these other areas may not present when they get developed for industries. So that's something specifically frequencies above and beyond the human hearing range.
So, but,
Yeah.
okay, Michael, I think you were saying maybe it was in conflict where it says, the audible sound from enterprise edge data centers shall not exceed 45 decibels, and then follow the ordinance on sound, which has this table. So
But it's also more than decibels.
I know, and this goes on here, I'm saying just specific to decibels.
Okay, yeah,
That's kind of what the comment was and what I'm looking at right now, but I just think we gotta be a little more consistent. It says, cannot exceed 45, the facility shall comply with all requirements of this. You know, when you get that difference in the language, that's when you get beat up hard on it.
Well, in the data center ref section, I just chose the lowest decibel that's within the table.
right.
Yeah,
Oh, I see what you're saying, oh, yeah, you're right.
but the table
Yeah,
for
you're
pyro,
right.
we're saving pyro, so,
No, I see what you're saying, yeah.
you know, and then there's durations and stuff like this. It goes way more in advance than just putting a decibel on it.
And I think you could, there could be value to having, 21.16, talking about frequency and, maybe adjusting,
Right.
because that would be applicable to any operation. I mean,
Yeah,
super high frequency, maybe at a certain decibel level is intolerable to whatever animal. I mean, we don't want that coming from anything.
Right.
So,
Or human hearing,
Right.
I mean, when you combine the two.
So, Michael, are you gonna, you've shown interest in the noise. Will you, maybe
I'll take a look. I'll
take a
do
look
some-
and come back and
Yeah.
report to what you think we should go with and examples and stuff.
I'm sorry, were you
Uh,
directed to me?
No, I did ask you earlier, but I was asking
The
this.
township
Mike
is
Amber.
blessed to have two mics in the audience tonight.
But
Or
on the
more.
same topic, if you have suggestions on that or anything,
Yeah.
you could email it to,
And I'm more than happy to share
Ross.
my reference material on the.
Yes, definitely
nighttime
helpful.
noise.
Mike, if you want, you could either send it to Ross, or you could send it to Mike if he's okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
He does have a township email, right?
Yep,
Happy to do so.
thank you.
Okay, so that's something that we gotta kind of clean up.
Yep.
Not just the decibels, but review the rest of that noise. You know, it's a good chance for us to clean up this ordinance, whether it's a sawmill or anything. Okay, anything else on the noise? Okay, then, just going off the memo, you're kind of, the next question that you had for us is what characteristics would we want for enterprise and edge data centers that need to be called out in the ordinance? So, I know, Mike, you had some thoughts on that too. I guess my thought is that the noise shouldn't really be different,
It should be
on
consistent.
those different data centers.
Yes,
Items like setback, I think could be, you know.
yes.
Maybe if the building in the, for example, we got these enterprise data center, pretty small, might be part of a business, you know, we're not gonna require as heavy as a setback. But when you get up to the other levels, maybe the setback's more.
We would agree.
And that's mostly based on visual. I think still like the sound and stuff will regulate overall with the sound, but. So what's, what are the thoughts on that?
I don't know what is normal and customary right now, which for data centers, with the way they're evolving, I don't think there is normal and customary. However, I do know we have a 500-foot setback for medical marijuana.
We do.
So if we're gonna
that
be
one,
consistent.
we went real hard on that one, and that, you know, we gotta have that same context that we just went through, 4 or 6 meetings to solve that one little, few little comments from the county planning, and one was, we changed it. And that if you could say it's a 6,000-foot setback, but that's not gonna play real good in court.
Right.
You know, 500, I mean, that could be possible. They could still physically build a data center at some, you know, property that's in the future land use, and might not be that big of a building, but,
Would
some of
that- I'm sorry, didn't mean to.
no, I just,
Would that be a universal setback for all data centers?
I don't think so,
Or do we scale
because,
it based on
yeah,
building
I think, because
size?
then we get to one where it's this is more of an office business operating,
Mm-hmm.
they're under the, you know, the enterprise, or even the edge or micro, you know, these are 100 kilowatts. And if we say that they have this really large setback, you know, that might
So
not
for
be very
the,
good. I guess one thing overall in the setbacks is why do we want to have a certain setback? What is the goal? What is the intent of having a large setback? I think visual, you know,
Right,
you,
because we're regulating the other aspects
Yeah.
separately, so I think it's relatively limited to visual.
Maintain continuity with the rural atmosphere.
Yep.
so currently, the draft in front of you for edge and sorry about that, for enterprise and edge data centers that are 150 kilowatt max, they are just required to comply with the minimum setback of whatever district they go in, meaning the Tyrone district setback.
Okay.
And then, currently, it says hyperscale, but we're gonna change that to to co-location facilities that are max of 60 megawatts, on page 7, there's a setback table based on 3 different types, but it goes from 200, 300, 150. So maybe those need to change, maybe get rid of the distinction and all 500, or it's up to you what you might want to change with that. But it says, from the front lot line, or road right-of-way line, right now it says 200. From the lot line of any residentially zoned or used property, 300 feet. And from the lot line of any property not residentially zoned, 150 feet. So those could be changed, because like you said, maybe be more consistent with medical marijuana standards, and then we could also change how it's measured, so to reflect that option if you wanted. That's something.
And to the extent that we wanted to be more consistent with other uses, another way we can address some of this is visual screening type stuff too. And I know we've talked about that in the past, but I mean, the two issues I think are kind of related, so.
Yeah.
Now, the visual screening, I like that, but I think providing the setback provides an area to do the visual screening.
Right.
You know, a lot of times you get to the, say, a site plan, and they're like, we're providing a bunch of trees, but there's just not enough room. Or maybe you want to have maybe you want to have a mound, you know, barrier, and trees on that, and there's just not enough room because the setback wasn't required.
Or how long does it take for the trees to grow in?
Exactly.
for full
So,
coverage?
I like having large setbacks. I do like, I think the two smaller scale data centers matching the setbacks for that zoning district, I think that's appropriate.
Because we do have we do have buffering and greenbelt requirements for those districts currently. And honestly, to have a berm with planting around them, you don't need that much. I mean, you could, even if you had 50 feet, you can get a pretty decent sized berm that you won't know what's behind it. Having said that, with these type of uses, the buffer would also act for dealing with all the other characteristics that you want to avoid: the noise, the sound, the noise, the vibration,
Lights.
you know, all that kind of negative characteristics. But the idea being that chart was 200 feet from the right-of-way just to protect traffic and keep land uses on the other side of the road, 300 foot to try and protect the residences as much as possible, and then 150 feet just to protect all other types of land uses. So technically, right now, this ordinance would say it's 150 feet even if it's adjacent to another industrially, pyro zone or industrially zoned property. So those can be changed whatever you prefer.
I guess my only reservation would be, you know, running into the same problem we did with MMA, where, you know, we've effectively specified 0 parcels that this would fit on. You know, but as long as we don't run into that issue, it could certainly go up from my perspective.
Yeah, I'd say we bump them up a little bit, push that limit, and let someone else, either special counsel or the county, kind of nail us again and try to tell us we're risky, but we'll review it.
So would the minimum setback be consistent for the first two?
I think for the first two, we just have it with that zoning district,
With zoning
because
district.
that's more, it's gonna be part of another building, it's gonna be probably an ancillary use to the original purpose. You know, I don't,
And then
I think the bigger, what we're calling edge, I think that's where we wanna, look into the larger setbacks.
So I have a question. Somebody walks in and says they have an enterprise they want to put in, but their usage is 1 megawatt. They don't fit in any of our categories then.
We would say, you can call yourself an edge, but in Tyrone Township, you're called, or you can call yourself that, but in Tyrone Township, you're a co-location facility.
But the definition of enterprise is 1 business, and the definition of co-location is more than 1 business.
Right, yeah. Okay, good.
Well,
That's a good point.
yeah, that's a good point.
We could adjust the definitions to be more encompassing again, this might go back to Mike's point about the definitions and trying to match the industry jargon versus what we want to define in the township. Maybe just we call one, you know, I don't know, small, medium, large, or something like that, but a distinction, and then focus on a restriction for currently the edge or micro to be solely for one business, that's 150 kilowatts or less, and then I guess maybe anything between 150 kilowatts and 60 megawatts that is multi-tenant co-location or for a single entity shall be considered the medium scale co-location. Because that makes sense, because the idea right now with these definitions is multi-tenant co-location is the assumption that it's going to be Amazon or someone that is going to be leasing their service to other facilities, where it could be Facebook and it's just all doing Facebook stuff. Because that's technically, they'll say, well, it's our one business.
Well, we don't have to answer it right now.
But it's a very good point.
Zach, what is anyone thinking on the setbacks for the edge? There's the table, 200, 300, 150. What are we thinking?
I think we go as high as we can.
Well, we don't know that.
Yeah.
I think if you put 500 to the residential, that would be consistent with that.
Yeah, I think put 500 to residential, and then maybe
300 to the street or something, or 400.
keep the road and then go 300 to the other.
Okay.
I mean,
Is that
the other one might not apply too much. Typically, it's going to be residential. We don't have a lot of, almost every industrial parcel we have or future land use map is near residential.
Okay, so it will be 500 feet, we'll change it from 150 to 500 for the residential.
300.
I thought 300 was.
Yeah, Zach did say, he did say 500. Oh, you said, we discussed 500
Yeah.
to keep it inconsistent with medical
Right
marijuana.
now it's 300.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it is 300 now.
So it'd be 200, 500.
The middle one.
200, 500, and 150,
300.
300. This is what we asked.
200, 500, 300. Any other aspects of these regulations that we want to have specific?
Yes.
And some of these we haven't really got into too much, but I think some of the water usage and electrical, well, the electrical we've talked about, water usage, is that something that needs to be regulated differently for different scales?
Yeah, a couple of things. My thought is, once they get themselves up and running and have consistent, say, quarterly reports of no incidences of nonconformance, for lack of a better phrase, we make sure we do an annual analysis. One of the things that was mentioned, yes, analysis will be done on the impact of the private wells. There was no frequency for that testing. We want to make sure they are held to a frequency, and obviously if there's some non-compliance detected, then we go back into the quarterly re-verifications.
That would be licensing.
That'll be in the regulatory.
Regulatory,
Yeah,
sorry.
But it's a very good point.
but it is, but make a note in your notes to add that we haven't even started discussing well, we've discussed it, but we haven't had a draft of the regulatory ordinance yet, but that will apply there.
Yeah, I think you can apply that to a lot of stuff
Yes.
in that ordinance too. I mean, the noise, the electrical consumption,
Yeah.
all of that should be
Yes.
subject to verification, so.
So, yeah, once you go out of compliance on any of those, they restart the compliance testing. The other thing that we had found compliments of our friends in Washington Township, that was not in their draft from April. The specification they were tasked to develop, at least get a draft from their township board of trustees. There was some correspondence, and forgive me while I double check my notes here, but there's some correspondence, not just with regards to water usage, but sewers. And if I may take a second here, the quote, this is from page 205 of the memorandum to the Planning Commission dated March 27th, 2026, sent by Mike Kozak. Must be good, another Mike. He's a PE with Giffords and Webster regarding the project ordinance update. Water sewer regulations project number 19500.7. All of this is to say that when we look to regulate water usage of a particular property or development type, it is just as important and likely more quantifiable to regulate the use of sewer. More succinctly said, the township's water system can deliver public water to just about any property that it's in front of. The challenge becomes, how do you then discharge that use of water if adequate public sewer capacity is not available? Again, making this a constraining factor. So that was their feedback. I know that there's Genesee County sewers in the area from what I've been told. How do we fold that in?
So I'm looking for, there's one section that, a report they're supposed to provide as part of the application requirements.
And if it would help,
Hazard materials and weight, well, that's hazard materials and weights.
I could send that link to you too, Mario.
I might have crafted it recently and not have it in our version. But the issue with that is, for ours, I think we have it where it is a closed loops, a required closed loop system. I think we do that. And because some of the alternatives, yeah, so, and on page 8, sorry. Page 8, top of the page, paragraph 10, water usage plan. It states that to reduce the impact on nearby potable water sources, co-location hypersonic centers, the proposed use of water for cooling shall use a closed loop or recycled water system unless the applicant can demonstrate satisfaction and that another cooling system will have no impact on potable water sources. So the idea with that then being that they will have all the impacts of that water cooling system on site. Now, there are, just like electricity, this is part of their approach to cooling, because they tend to use different pieces for their entire cooling process. Some might have this closed loop complete water system. Some might have some water, some air handlers or air conditioning, for lack of a better word. And sometimes those systems include a different type, a subtype of water system called for lack of a better word, I believe the one, like they're going to do it in Van Buren, at least they're proposing. Well, facility, and then the gray water, the water that's already been transferred that is no longer deemed viable to be used for cooling, is stored in outdoor ponds in theory, to be recycled later into the system. And that's what this is making the assumption. Having said all that, if you wanted to include something like another type of detailed report with regards to impact for stormwater and waste water, we can definitely do that. I think it is something I know it must have been done in more recently than this draft. But yeah, it's definitely something that it can be important. So I think it's something that we can definitely add in terms of determining what it is, because the current ordinance as it stands, they would have to provide a detailed report of how their cooling system would function, how the closed loop system would function, and then we would know if they're going to use any of these cooling ponds or not. And just like anything else, depending on the route we choose in terms of regulation, you might be getting this left it open to have them propose what they want to utilize for a cooling system for water, and then we would deal with the impact to make sure that if they're proposing swamp cooling effluent ponds, we could require them to site them in a particular location on the facility, put a fence around it or whatever. But if we told them, all right, these are excluded, then we might get something that's all air conditioning units, and then the noise and vibration is going to go through the roof.
Right.
Granted, we'll regulate it, but just to let you know, that's the option. So that's the approach to the application requirements.
Okay.
Is to understand and have them come and be forthright and give us as much information as possible for the cooling, for the water, for the stormwater, and then because it's a special land use, that's the thing. As a special land use, then the township can say you have to do A, B, and C based on what you're proposing, because that's the power that the state law and the special land use gives you. Because that's just the current approach of this ordinance. We want to change that. We can definitely change it to go one way or the other.
So,
Under X, water usage plan, we talk about description of the plan to obtain water, but maybe there's a description of the way to discharge water.
Does a closed loop or recycled system discharge, notwithstanding the fact that terminology suggests that it doesn't?
I mean, it's gonna, they're gonna have to refresh it at some point. The water's not just gonna last in there for.
right.
Because similarly, like we've talked about it before, sometimes they use water, sometimes
It's not gonna be just water. It's gonna be
sometimes they'll use some type of
antifreeze
treated water or some type of cooling system that would could do that. So
Because an easy tweak to this language, it talks about, it's towards the middle, to the satisfaction of the planning commission and the township board that another cooling system will have no impact on potable water resources. You can also say, or sewer systems, but we might want a little more than that.
We might want
too.
something to
So-
consider for the next
Right.
evaluation, shall we say. The other question I had.
Mike, can I pause you for 1 second?
Yes.
Michael, what's your comment?
So, I have actually put a thing out about closed loop systems. I'm more than happy if the board requested, just send me an email.
Can you give just like a 30-second summary of?
Yeah, real quick. From all my research, there's only one true closed loop system in all of North America, and that's the one in Wisconsin that Microsoft runs. Every other closed loop system does use and discharge water and other chemicals in some way or another. So I think that it's really important. First off, thank God Microsoft's not coming if we put in the things we've talked about today, and I work with them all day long, but don't tell them I said that. But it really is an important decision you're making on the sewer as well, especially with those ponds and the way our soil is in this county, in this township specifically. If there were ever any kind of containment issues with those or with the sewers, and I'm more than happy, like I said, if you wanted it. I can share all my research and reference material on that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, the other thing, the meeting's getting dominated by mics anyway.
It's all right, we're gonna start using last names.
Yeah, the other thing is, there was, and I've just started with the consent agreement for the Saline facility. There was a comment made from the agreement that the developer shall not use a design that contains high water usage. But if any wells or ponds on neighboring properties go dry as a result of water usage, is that something that goes into the regulatory? Should that be in this ordinance?
Probably both. That, I read that in that consent judgment, that seemed very, very loose. It made me a little nervous, but I think we definitely want to have similar language,
something
but I
like
think there
that.
needs to be a little bit more protection up
Yes.
on the forefront.
Because we wanna prevent that from occurring in the first place.
Now, we
not
still
just-
have, you know,
Yeah,
Well, the consent judgment was issued very quickly.
and it was
after
very
the lawsuit
brief.
was
I mean,
filed.
they're not very detailed in
no,
that.
not at all.
That's a good point. I think we probably do want to.
And maybe just my 10 cents, the impact or the sanction for that type of an impact on the community, I think should be more than just, you're gonna fix the pond or you're gonna fix the
Yeah.
well. It ought to be, you're not licensed to operate in Tyrone Township.
And that would get into the regulatory side.
Right, right.
Any violation of an ordinance shall rescind future ordinances, future applications or some such thing.
Well, or their current operation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Current operation.
You know,
Yeah, that's,
invalidate current approvals,
And that gets back to the
revocation
regulatory.
of license, and yeah, all that will be in the
Okay.
license. But it's good to always keep reminding you to keep those components in.
Okay, that's really all I have. Sorry, John, I'll let you
No.
have your meeting back.
you did good. I did tell Mike to have, I know he had a lot, he missed a meeting, so we had to like double the amount that he was thinking.
Yeah, I got twice the assignments.
Yeah.
That's what I get for going on vacation.
So, I think, Mario, do we got some good direction for you for
Absolutely.
that? You got all the notes. Mike will summarize his notes
Yep.
and send them to me, and then we'll look it over, send it to Ross through you, or,
If I may,
Yeah,
we're
go
gonna
ahead.
revise that table, to include 200, 500, and 300 on the setbacks.
that's for the co-location. One thing to know is on that hyperscale, review all of it,
Yeah.
because it's almost in there like,
Yeah.
almost every section. Okay?
We'll look at the noise frequency.
Yeah,
That's an evolutionary process.
that, and also encourage everybody to review the current noise ordinance 21.16.
21.16 review. And then we've got the prohibition on the hyperscale, which we already talked
Yeah,
about.
that's covered. We got
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I think that pretty well covers it. Mario, are we on the same page?
Yes,
Okay, just want to make sure you and I are gonna,
absolutely.
One other note while we're still on data centers, Ross gave us this Michigan Planner newsletter or magazine, whatever you want to call it.
Looks like latest greatest too, Ross.
And almost everything in here is on data centers.
Yep.
Moratoriums on data centers.
Who's it written by?
Various planners,
Well,
planners throughout-
various planners.
It's from the Michigan Planning Association.
Michigan Planning Association.
It's a really good read.
So, any other discussion or any other direction that we want to have Mario research or develop in the ordinance for the next draft?
I think we've given him a fair amount at this
Yep.
point, so I'm comfortable with obviously there will be more. But
Yes, and now the next question. Now that you've got a laundry list, when do you think you might be able to get back to us on this?
Well, our next meeting is, what did we say,
July 14th?
14th. So we need it the week before.
Yes,
Yeah.
which means I gotta get my notes out to you quickly
You know,
too.
the 4th of July.
oh, you take holidays off?
No?
Think of all that open time you've got now on your schedule because of the holiday.
Oh. Yeah, well, then, July 8th. Yeah.
And that's a reasonable amount of work. It's not a ton of revisions.
It's up to you, I don't know what else is on the agenda in terms of that meeting, but
Oh,
if you have
we're-
it for that meeting or the meeting after, either one or the other, whichever one.
We would like it for the next meeting. We're asking you, can you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Yep.
I think that's the plan, that we would like to continue development. And I feel like we're making small changes, which kind of coincides with having those new draft at every meeting.
And Mario, if I send out something to you and you go, I don't understand, let me know, please.
Yep. And also, don't wait for, you got most of the direction, his notes are really just gonna confirm.
Right.
So, don't be waiting on it.
Yep.
Anything else on data centers?
Just one thing to make you aware of some of the activity going on up at in Lansing.
Yep.
There is a bill, I don't know where it is in the review and approval process and that sort of thing, but it was proposed by, it might have been a bipartisan bill again, but it was a bill that was going to put a restriction on a maximum time limit for the moratoriums on data centers. I believe they wanted to limit communities to have only one moratorium for a maximum of 90 days.
Well,
So,
Is that new moratoriums?
oh, yeah, new moratoriums.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no attorney, but to the best of my knowledge, when you write a rule, write a state law, you don't go back and
Yeah.
retroactively attack other ones. In my experience, you know, having a 6-month moratorium is standard practice. As far as I know, the vast majority, all of our clients and the vast majority of communities in the state have done 6-month moratoriums. They haven't gone too crazy. And it's normal practice, so as long as you show progress making an ordinance, if you're not done, if you don't have something on the books by the end of that 6 months, you typically grant another 6-month moratorium. So that's usual practice. I would say, in my opinion, we're making very good progress. We might not meet the deadline, so the.
Well, but we're on a new moratorium of January or March of 27. What,
is that,
stand by.
it went 9 months?
Yeah, it went 9 months.
It went 9 months, yeah.
But still, like I said, it's just standard practice. I mean, in the past, people have done it 12 months, 9 months, just to be conservative with your approach. Usually, we suggest 6, but obviously, it's up to the attorneys and what they feel is appropriate.
We got more than 6 months left, so
That's good.
I feel we're looking good. What do you think, Zach?
I agree.
I just wanted to let you know that.
Yep.
Once again, who knows if that'll ever get adopted, but it's just, Lansing is aware that, I believe, Michigan is the state with the largest number of moratoriums on data centers.
If you happen to know or come across that legislative number, if you could send that out, please.
Yep.
Anything else on data centers? Hearing none, moving, new business, nothing on new business, call to the public. Second call to the public, any topics at all, 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Hi, I've watched all of your meetings about data centers for, gosh, over 6 months now, and just really surprised the difference in what I'm hearing tonight in comparison to all the other meetings. But I know there's a lot of people here, and then all of a sudden you announce that you want to prohibit the mega center, which is weird because the last meeting you thought it was perfectly fine. So just a little confused there. I mean, it does seem like after 6 months you would know the difference in the megawatts, and you would know about the water, how much water it's going to take. That's my opinion. And then also, you didn't mention, well, I want to say with Garrett, he had mentioned, what about having maybe like 4 buildings in one area, 4 data centers possibly? And that's something that could happen with the new company that Tony Eller brought into town, JLL, which you haven't mentioned here at all. I don't know if you're aware of it, you look confused.
No, I'm confused. What does this have to do with that plan, that Tony Aller's application was, it's out of the planning commission? She's talking now, so you can zip it. Thank you.
Because, okay,
So
you just rezoned Tony Eller to M1.
And then why would we talk about an advertising company that he used? Why would we bring that up in planning commission business?
They're not an advertising company. They're a brokerage. They're a data center brokerage.
We're not here to gossip online and do that.
I'm not gossiping. I'm bringing up facts.
We're here to deal with planning commission business. That's not planning commission.
You know what?
business.
And I can guarantee you're going to change your opinion. You're going to come back and say, oh, well, we can have the 100 megawatt. Our special counsel told us that we better do that. Because all you're ever worried about is getting sued. And all of a sudden, all these people are here and you've changed your tunes. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You've brought a lot of them on yourself. And you don't tell me what I can talk about. JLL, you're trying to say they're just an advertising company? You know what? JLL is a lot more than that. They're a leading firm in the data center sectors. They're involved in various aspects of data center operations, including site selection. Currently, their net worth is $13.5 billion. They're born out of a desire to create a global real estate powerhouse. Their clients are Google, Facebook, and BlackRock. And I thought, Mr. Aller said he was going to be the first line of defense.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah. I'll be back.
Michael, go ahead.
Too bad you're not.
Shut your mouth. It's not your turn to talk.
Make me.
You took up her time.
You're such a rude.
Sit down and be quiet, or you're going to be asked to leave.
Who's gonna make this? Is the sheriff here tonight? Is the sheriff here?
Okay, start the timer. Go ahead.
Are you gonna remove me? Sorry, Michael.
It's all right.
Go ahead.
Just a couple of points, and then a statement I wanted to make. Technically, if you look at the 3 major industry standard companies for data centers, IDC, Uptime Institute, and Synergy Research Group, they actually start hyperscale at approximately 40 megawatts. And it's just something I can share some research with you guys on that. And I'm happy to do so. They also do it by the number of servers and the number of the floor space that the server racks and things like that are on. And I'm more than happy to share all that as well. My statement at the end of this really is, and I'm sorry, this is in my way a little bit. Just want to begin by saying something clearly. I have not, and I will not, publicly ridicule or attack any resident or any official, whether here or on social media. And if I ever do, I expect this community to call me out and hold me accountable, because standards only matter when we hold each other to them. I am not aligned with any group, faction, or individual. I am my own person. My positions come from my professional background in IT experience, my own research, my own analysis, and my own values. I will speak to all sides of a debate and offer my research and facts to the Planning Commission, the Township Board, and especially to my fellow residents. Everything I raise comes directly from the Township zoning ordinance, the master plan, past meeting minutes, and industry standard information about industrial development. I have offered to help the Township in any way I can because I care about this community and want to see it thrive. When I raise a concern, it is because I believe it deserves attention, nothing more and nothing less. I welcome anyone to challenge any fact I have presented. That is how good policy is made. This country was built on open debate, competing ideas, factual scrutiny, and the belief that truth rises when people are free to question. If any fact I have presented is wrong, I want it corrected. If it is right, it deserves to be part of this discussion. Thank you for the time allowing me to be part of crafting this important ordinance from a resident's perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All this discussion about zoning ordinance and setbacks and all this good stuff. How about in your own backyard? 500 foot good enough? Is it? Think about it. Is 500 foot good enough? I can see all the way to the back corner of my property, 750 feet. I can hear the neighbor's dog yip, yip, yip. Doesn't really make me mad or anything, but I can hear it that far away. 750 feet. 500 feet's not enough, especially when it's in your own backyard. You guys aren't thinking about that part. Oh, we got acreage everywhere. Everywhere it's not in your backyard. You keep bringing it back up. Oh, well, we'll just cut it down to 60 megawatts. But you're letting the foot in the door. Just say no. Just say no. Does the Ku Klux Klan get to burn crosses in Denton Hill gravel pit anymore? That used to happen in the early 70s. You didn't know that, maybe. Yeah, they used to do it right there in Denton Hill gravel pit. But it's not allowed. So how about we not allow a data center in Tyrone Township? Pretty simple. Because you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And they're going to keep going. Who's to say data centers are even going to be a thing in 5-10 years? I mean, we went from albums to 8-tracks to CDs or cassettes to CDs and in a very quick time. Who's to say it's even going to be a thing in 5-10 years? Just say no. Closed loop systems, it still takes chemicals to descale and keep the system working through the cooling system itself. The chemicals have to go somewhere. They have to be drained, replenished. Toxic, you got, what do you call it? Hazmat coming in, hazmat disposal. All this shit doesn't need to be in Tyrone Township. Add that to your little list of goodies that you're going to restrict to keep them from, oh, they'll keep them back, they'll keep them back. Just say no.
Thank you. Go ahead. Sure.
Thank you again. Just wanted to say that I heard you guys talking about not doing the bigger place, trying to get a smaller one. We got to think of it this way. It's like cancer. You let a little bit in, you don't treat it, what's going to happen? It's going to grow. You look down there at Saline, that was brought up again. if they were only allowed to build that one size data center down there, how come they just bought 250 acres off the back of that property? They're not even done building yet. And they're adding another 250 acres. You got Edison right down the road building a couple 100-acre battery facility. They say it's for the community in case the power goes out. That's for the data center. So once it comes in, that's what it's going to be like. It's just going to be like cancer. It's going to spread, and we can set all the ordinances and do all this other stuff, noise, all that stuff. They got millions of dollars or billions of dollars. We wouldn't be able to fight it. They'll just win. So please, do it for the people. Don't allow it. The people don't want it. I know there's not a lot of people here compared to what's in the township itself, but I just found out about this stuff last week. So it's been pretty secretive, as far as that goes to me anyways. I'm not on a lot of different things, so I don't see that. I don't watch the news because, it just brings you down. But yeah, please, you guys, don't allow it. We don't want it. Thank you.
Chris?
Chris Rapetta, Tyrone Township resident. A couple of things from the data center ordinance side that in my 38 years of computer industry experience, you should know. It seems like there is a lot of talk about a data center being a building. It has nothing to do with building size. Buildings can be connected by high-speed fiber optic trunks into what's called a campus. So if there's not language in the definitions that are defining these parameters around data center campuses, which is a collection of smaller buildings, perhaps on the same site, or even large buildings on the same site of property, then I would strongly encourage you to consider that as part of this process. Additional experience, because my company deals with tens of thousands of customers all over the world. Everybody has their own nomenclature for things. We tend to anonymize data and labels. And something that the township might consider doing is to anonymize the names so that we don't cause confusion. For example, Class A data center, Class B data center, Class C data center, and everything then is focused on the things you want to regulate, because we don't really care whether Google calls theirs a hyperscale. We don't care whether Microsoft calls theirs a somewhat hyperscale or an Uber scale. And so let in Ubers because you said hyperscale, that kind of thing. It shouldn't matter. If you define it by the restrictions that you're going to be putting on, set your own anonymized classifications, you're going to be much better off, in my opinion, in the way that we apply that to a lot of different customer contracts and things of that nature. Finally, I'd like to say interrupting people during their public comment time, you did a terrible job, and you owe Jody an apology for interrupting her. It's not your time to comment. It's the public's time to speak. So I would appreciate it if you would apologize for interrupting Jody and coaching her throughout the process on what she can say and cannot say. That's not your job as the chairman, and it should be nobody's job on the board to do that. So please apologize to Jody.
Chris, it's actually your wife that interrupted her and I had to shut her up, so that's what caused it. So you can apologize to Jody. Anyone else?
I have a couple questions. I noticed when going through the ordinances today that there's nothing on the books for the meeting decorum or code of conduct. I understand that that's something that the township board is going over, but that's also pursuant to the planning commission. I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention as well, that there's nothing up on the site to reference for citizens, even though you are, as a township, going through the amendments on this. It's good to have something for the citizens to actually reference as the standing ordinance. Furthermore, I do understand that some here have a low opinion of how Saline handled things. What you're talking about in doing some of the regulations that you're speaking of actually speak to what co-counsel in Saline have proposed since they have fought the Saline battle. And it goes to exclusionary zoning and misinterpretations that have been made around exclusionary zoning. Again, would be very happy to send it to you. Again, at another township meeting like this, I find myself really disappointed. I really hope that as a community, this kind of thing can stop happening and we can have civil discussions. Thank you. And one more thing,
Don't interrupt her, she's finishing up. Can you stop clapping? Go ahead.
I'm fine with clapping, sir. Thank you.
It's in the code of conduct, though.
If I were able to read code of conduct, I would know that. I would request that a citizen committee be installed with the leadership of Mike, who is so knowledgeable. I have seen it work in multiple different communities where when residents have the ability to give input at a high level, it really helps both the planning commission and the township board of trustees in making these kinds of decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? You got,
Sorry.
everyone gets to go.
Hello, my name's Monica. I'm a 13-year resident of Tyrone Township, and I absolutely love this area. It's beautiful. We moved out here because of the beautiful farmland and the wildlife that we have, and we love it, and it is worth fighting for, specifically against data centers. But I have a question. I had heard at another meeting that we were looking into what the benefits are of a data center. I haven't heard anything. I mean, it seems like a good majority of the people behind me don't want it. Why are we considering it? Is there something I'm missing? Is there some sort of benefit that's coming to us that's making this worth it? Because I don't see it. And if it could be presented, I'm an open-minded person, and I think there's a few behind me that are pretty open-minded that be willing to listen. But what is it?
I always agree.
Thank you.
My name's Paul Lewis. I live on Runyon Lake. I've been a resident here for about 15 years or so. And she did steal my thunder because I was going to ask the same exact question. Seems like there's an awful lot of worry about getting the ordinance right so we can protect ourselves from this data center. And it seems as though the ordinances could probably be pretty easily modified or changed in order to prevent this from happening. But the biggest question I had was, what is the benefit to us, the residents of Tyrone Township? I mean, I agree, I haven't heard a dang thing that has told us what this is gonna do for our area, our city, our township. I see an awful lot of downside to it. I don't know anything like Mike does. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I don't deal with that stuff. But this the practicality of it just doesn't make any sense. And you guys are up there perseverating over the changes, and doesn't seem like it's gonna benefit us regardless. So, just curious about the point of all of this. An awful lot of downside to it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle King. I just wanted to kind of address something you had said, Garrett. It was kind of like we'll throw a Hail Mary towards the Eagles aspect of things. So in Frenchtown, they have an area near them where people come from all over the country and internationally to settle the Eagle population there. They tried to throw that at the wall, and pretty much Michigan's Eagle did not care. Eagle's director and many members of Eagle are specially appointed by our governor, who has pretty much said she's not going to do anything to stop the roll on these DC going in, just point blank. So I guess I wanted to say, don't think you're going to throw a Hail Mary to the wildlife with the state or the federal government, because they want these. This is national security for them. They are going to hinge this on, we need this for national security. So don't think that any protected population is going to save us from this, because it's not. That's all. Oh, and I do think the community being involved in this and having their own coalition to assist you guys all have daytime jobs. Your lives have to be being monopolized by this to try to do the research on this. Use your resources, use those in the community that can assist you, those who have specialized knowledge in this industry. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot to put on you guys as a planning commission. I can't even imagine it. So use your resources. They're here. They're willing. Use them. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll close the public. Okay, didn't hear it.
Just trying to get in before somebody else comes up here. Well, we know that he'll be right after me, so just watch and see. It's interesting how, again, you're interrupting me, John, so I'd like for you to not interrupt me. But I did notice how you don't interrupt the men that come up here, but you pick on Jody. You pick on the weak, what you perceive as weak people.
Sounds like you perceive that.
Excuse me. Stop interrupting me. I am going to ask again about the NDAs because, and thank you, Sally, for making that statement, but you could have texted someone in the meantime. I don't know. Anybody could. So some of you were asked a very similar question last meeting. Some of you answered, some of you did not answer, and one of you said you weren't comfortable answering. So I'm going to ask you again, and it's a simple question, the question that residents deserve an answer to. And there's been significant discussion about future development in Tyrone Township and data centers. So Planning Commission members, you're placed in a position of public trust, and residents rely on knowing that the people reviewing the ordinances, zoning, etc., are discussing those matters openly. A yes or no answer from each member will help provide transparency and reassurance to the residents you represent. My question tonight's a little bit different from what I asked at the last Planning Commission meeting, so now it matches what I asked the board members last week. So please listen carefully, because you might want to change your answer from last time. Have you personally signed any NDA confidentiality agreement and/or had any private communication, including meetings, phone calls, texts, or emails, with any company, developer, landowner, notice I asked about developers and landowners, or company, or representative regarding any current or potential project that could affect Tyrone Township. Sally, you clarified earlier, but I'd like to ask you again, as of right now.
This is
Don't
not the way
interrupt.
that-
Sally, let's not interrupt.
Excuse me, this is my time.
I'm just controlling the meeting. We're not going to interrupt you.
So you're telling Sally not to answer, and she would like to, Sally, you can answer me if you want.
I was going to tell you this is not the proper time or place.
Oh,
to-
when is the proper time or place? When is that?
Do you know-
tell everybody.
Do you know what call to the public is for? You do.
I'm going to ask you, when is the proper time to ask you this? You just said that it's not the proper time. When is it?
Pretty much any other time.
I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
Mike Amberg,
I'm not speaking.
you weren't here the last meeting. I would ask you the same question if you'd
Despite
say,
popular,
pardon me?
despite popular discussion, I was not at the meeting. However, my evil twin Bill was here, who looks very similar to me, apparently.
What? I don't know
I can
what
say
the,
that question has been answered. It's been asked and answered through the FOIA.
I'm asking you personally.
And I am saying I answered that question that was asked to me through the FOIA request.
I don't know anything about a
Jeanette, thank you
FOIA
for your
request.
Anyone else?
You're rude. So.
Scott?
Oh, here we go. Here goes Scott.
Do you always have to be drama? Always?
No, do you always have to threaten people, Scott?
I was sitting down when I was being charged, and the officer told you what happened. Once again, maybe you should
Scott,
get
the comment for the
Hey,
board.
so-
Go ahead.
maybe citations. We can see, I cannot believe Chris, he's a trustee. How many times have she interfered with people up here doing their 3-minute comment? Non-stop. She never shuts up. And for a trustee to come up here and tell you that we should legally say no, we can't put a stop sign up. I mean, I know these are all my neighbors and citizens like me, and we're working on this. But we sat here and explained why. I'm a perfect example, and I know she'll laugh, but the state came in and allowed alcohol and drug treatment center right across the street from my house. If a lot of these people don't know what it is. The township had no say over it. I live on a little small lake on White Lake Road. And I got crime radar on my phone every week. The ambulances are in there. Psychotic episodes. She can't handle them, so that she's got to call. So emergencies in there all the time. The police, there's hardly a fence there, there's hardly security. This stuff gets jammed down our throat because the state doesn't care. The county doesn't care. Mario's saying yes. This stuff's shoved down our throats. You guys are trying to do the best you can. You guys, I know you don't understand that. They don't understand half this stuff. Mario doesn't. This is why we put moratoriums on. And to attack each other, no. But the drama's got to stop. I've heard and read a lot of stuff Mike's put out. He asked if somebody wanted to reach out to him. Yes, I'd like to talk to him a little bit more. I saw some of the comments, and I see where he's hanging. If he's going to hang around the drama, he's going to hang around the misinformation, it doesn't make him look good. I want to hear his expertise, I do. But if you're going to hang around the drama crowd, most of these residents don't want that. The drama and the misinformation is not what we want. We want experts. I think Mike knows a lot, but I've seen a couple comments that I disagree with, but it wasn't pertaining to the date. It was other stuff to do with our zoning and stuff. And I'd like to correct him on that because we have discussed zoning and ordinances for so many years and what we're going to do on the US 23 corridor. So I'm hoping in the future that he can distance himself from that. And I hope that people out here in the audience can do that. We all need to reach out in these workshops and everything here. Go out in little groups, fine, but be careful. Because some people just want to pour gas on the fire and start fights. Listen, nobody here wants the data centers. I can see that. But please, let's work together.
Thank you, Scott.
It shows exactly who you are.
Good.
I never said anything.
Somebody did. Always interfering over it.
I never said anything.
Anyone else for public comment? Hearing none? Closing public comment.
Miscellaneous business.
Yeah.
There
Go ahead.
is the Tyrone Township celebration with 250 years, July 1st. They are looking for volunteers to help with the kids' games. So by all means, feel free to sign up. Meet some of your neighbors. They're more than happy to have volunteers. Mike?
Just also a note, they're also accepting donations.
Thank you.
Excited about it.
John, could I
Yeah,
teach people where to find some things?
sure.
It was stated that we don't have our information out here about the data centers. If you go to Tyrone Township, Planning Commission, meeting documents, there's packets under every meeting, and you can look at those. And they're published before the meeting, so you can see up there.
I do think the question was regarding to the code of conduct policy. You know, just so you know, this planning commission, that's a regulatory ordinance. Speak with a board member, call the township and ask them. Wouldn't know where to go find that. If it was me, I'd probably go back and look at some meeting minutes, the last couple of months I heard about it. I mean, I was provided a copy, it's in my email, but it's out there. And if you want, all the regulatory ordinances for the township are not on the website, I don't believe. Maybe they are. So maybe it is on there.
I don't know if that was by resolution or regulatory.
Exactly, it may or may not be, but that's not planning commission business, so I can't help you with that. All I can say is, go to the township hall and ask to speak with someone about that.
I did see that the planning commission bylaws are on the website.
They are.
And the planning commission bylaws is what governs your.
Well, there is a code of conduct that overall governs the, Zach, can you give us an update as a board member? It governs all the public meetings, whether it's the zoning board of appeals, the board, planning commission, and I think it was revised, maybe a month or two ago?
That's about right. Yeah, it was revised recently at a board meeting. It is a resolution of the board, so I don't know that it's posted with the ordinances on the website.
So it's not an ordinance, it's a resolution?
Right.
It's a policy, resolution, policy by resolution. And we should all be abiding by that, so.
And just for the record, on September 10th, 2025, the Township Board for Saline voted no, 4-1, against the request to rezone property. September 12th, the lawsuit was filed. Within approximately 3 weeks, they had a final consent judgment issued. That data center is going in. The case number is 25001, 577C as in Charles, Z as in Zulu, and filed in the Washington County Circuit Court. That's how it rolled. So there is information there, as was mentioned in the meeting. You have a judge legal group issuing a consent agreement inside of 3 weeks. Obviously, as Zach mentioned, this is loose with what they came up with. But that's how they got their data center. Please keep this in mind. That's all I've got.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous business? Ross, for the next meeting, we just got, we're gonna have a final draft of the medical marijuana, and that hopefully is, addresses all the outstanding issues, and we can take action on it. And then, data centers. Is there any other topics coming up?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Unless an application is received, now we're on a public hearing or whatnot, but those are the only topics that I have at this time.
Motion to adjourn.
So
motion and support to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Hey, I've been in the trial.